And I do believe that we have rotten politics, and I'm not using that as an exaggeration.
Hey everyone and welcome. In this video we're going to be having a look at the SNP and their new hate crime bill, or hate crime law, being pushed by Scottish Justice Secretary Humza Yousaf. We all know who Humza is, don't we? The one that thinks everything's too white even though he lives in a country that's 96% white. Or should I say, as he said, white.
Take my portfolio alone. The Lord President, white. The Lord Justice Clerk, white. Every High Court judge, white. White, 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 who are white is white.
Well, as we all know, he's been trying to bring in a hate crime bill, and there's been quite a lot of pushback for it. So he has made a few amendments. Now, before I go any further though, if you're new to the channel, you wouldn't know, I actually like Scottish people. I like Scotland. I want Scotland to stay part of the Union, not because of anything malicious, but because I'm a unionist. So this is coming from a standpoint of caring about the Scots. Now, not only is he pushing for the hate crime law, he's also pushing for it, are we ready for this, be punishable inside your own home. Yep, you heard that right. It's titled, SNP's new hate crime law could see people prosecuted for expressing views in their own homes. The SNP's new hate crime bill could criminalise free speech in people's own homes, MSPs have been told. MSP's questioned Scottish Justice Secretary Humza Yousaf over the controversial legislation during an evidence session before the Holyrood Justice Committee. For the first time today, the new proposed legislation will introduce a stirring up of hate offence on characteristics including disability, sexual orientation and age. Yes, you heard that right, stirring up of hate. Now, there was actually pushback on this because the new offence, as it stood as he wrote it, i.e. stirring up of hatred, would not have required proof of intent. Now, concerns have been raised about it when he pushed it forward in regards to the stirring up of hatred, because when it was first drafted, it would not have required proof of intent, which means you didn't have to actually want to do anything, you just had to not like something. Because hatred is an emotion, isn't it, really? Hate is an emotion, just like love is an emotion, happy is an emotion, is it not? So he has pushed it back, so now you need to have intent as well. However, critics fear for the hate crime and public order bill, which centres around plans for a new offence of stirring up hatred, will stifle freedom of expression. BBC Scotland, Catholic bishops, the Humanist Society of Scotland and the Scottish Police Federation are amongst those who have raised concerns, along with Mr Bean star Rowan Atkinson and writer Val McDermid. Because of this, Mr Yousaf was forced to amend the legislation and change the controversial stirring up offences section, which has been condemned by opponents. Now, don't get your hopes on this one, Scottish. This is absolutely insane, and you'll find out why as we go through it. It now means stirring up offences would be limited to intent relating to age, disability, religion, sexual orientation, gender identity and variations in sex characteristics, and therefore prosecutions could only be brought in this respect. During today's session, Glasgow Tory MSP and committee convener Adam Tompkins questioned the Justice Secretary on how you can commit an offence of public order in private. It comes after Mr Yousaf suggested during the committee session that he would be in favour of the stirring up offences applying inside home dwellings. Now, I'd like to stop at this point and raise a point. How would he know what you are saying to your friends or to your family in your own home? What's he going to do? Is he going to pay people to grass on the neighbours? Are you going to have your neighbours with a glass on the wall listening to every word you say? Are you going to have, I don't know, cameras and microphones in your houses installed by the government? Is that what we're talking about here, Yousaf? Is that what it is? Possibly pay Google for Alexa to listen into you? Or maybe your mobile phone. That'd be the one for you, wouldn't it? Do you think that these aren't all options to this man? Inside your own home, how would that be policeable? It wouldn't, would it, unless you did one of those things? Complete invasion of privacy. This would remove the difference between public and private. You would not have private anymore. 1984, anyone? Mr Tompkins continued, when we are considering the scope of the criminal law in this parliament, we've got to be careful not to under-criminalise and also guard against over-criminalisation and make sure we are not inadvertently rendering criminal that we think ought to be free to do. Liam Kerr, MSP, Scottish Conservative Justice spokesman, added, the hate crime bill was a mess when the SNP first brought it to Parliament, and it still contains serious issues that need to be fixed. I worry about that whole thing. That's from a Tory. That's from a Scottish Tory. Not saying they need to get rid of it altogether, but saying it needs to be changed and fixed a little. That's worrying, is it not? That means that they've got backing from cross-party for this. This is ridiculous. Scotland, if you are listening, please listen. You're not going to have a country left if this man gets this bill through. I promise you. Think about it. Scotland is very sectarian. Think of, just as an example, in Glasgow, Rangers and Celtic. One's Catholic, one's Protestant. Hate each other for that reason. Does this bill mean that they would no longer be able to shout at each other at games? Which side would be protected in that respect? You see where I'm going with this? This is absolutely ridiculous. It would change Scotland forever, in my opinion. And what we all know, once the leaders get the power like this, they never give it back, Scotland. Never. Even if the leaders change, they would keep the power. Tinkering around the margins will not fix the most controversial bill in Scottish Parliament history. I agree. The latest admission from the Justice Secretary confirms what so many respondents to the consultation have warned, that as drafted, this bill means free speech could be criminalised within the home with friends you've invited over for a dinner party, and that Mr Youssef is perfectly comfortable with that. The SNP need to be clear with the Scottish public about exactly what they intend this hate crime bill to do. They can't keep trying to force through dangerous attacks on freedom of speech. Now, all of these protected characteristics don't seem to cover being Scottish. Are you listening? It seems to cover everything else, but just being a normal Scottish person or a normal Scottish family, you've got no protections at all. At the same time, it emerged the Scottish Government failed to consult court officials on the controversial laws, with the Scottish Tories claiming they were left in the dark until the last minute. But Mr Youssef defended the legislation, rejecting claims the Scottish Courts and Tribunal Service were not consulted. He added, these next two paragraphs are terrifying, and you should be worried, Scotland. He added, the point of stirring up offences and the reason why I think we need these offences is their effect is or could be to motivate people who carry out acts of hatred, violence, assaults and so on against members of groups who belong to particular communities. What it does is, if you're stirring up religious hatred against Jews with the intent of stirring up hatred in your private dwelling with your children in the room, with friends you've invited over for a dinner party, if they then act upon the hatred and commit offences that would be prosecuted by law, should the person who, with the intent of stirring up hatred, if their behaviour was threatening or abusive, should that person not be culpable? And who decides what's hateful and what's intent? Yeah, exactly. Should they not receive criminal sanction? And there you go. What that effectively says is, if someone gets done under this hate crime law, any of their friends that they've spoken to before that could be in jail as well. Is that not what that says? If you go round to someone's house and speak, and it isn't the right speak, everyone in that room is culpable if one of you does something. You understand where I'm going with that? It's absolutely ridiculous. This isn't just you're responsible for your own actions. This is you're responsible for your actions, and any friends that you've got are responsible for your actions, and your family are responsible for your actions, and anyone that listens to you speak is responsible for your actions, and you're all going to jail. There'll be no one left. There'll be no one left. This, see what I mean about it being absolutely insane? How is this being allowed by the Scottish people? I don't understand why you're not rising up just over this alone, Scotland. They will destroy your country if you keep letting them push through stuff like this. And don't think the Tories are going to help you out in Scotland. It seems like they're on board with it as well if it's tweaked up a bit. Same goes for everyone else. At least the English aren't trying to attack you in your own home, Scotland. Just a thought. Maybe you should look at yourselves for the hatred rather than us, because you can guarantee hatred of the English won't be covered, will it? Definitely won't be covered. But hey-ho, the Justice Secretary stressed the Scottish Government is willing to look again at protections of free speech in the legislation. Mr Youssef said he would open to expanding protections of freedom of speech to cover all of the protected characteristics in the bill, as only statements made against people on the grounds of their religion or sexual orientation are currently covered. So he wants it to expand it to everything. He also said he would consider broadening protection to acts that express antipathy, dislike, ridicule or insult. So you can't joke anymore, Scotland. You can't insult each other. Ooh, Scottish banter right out the window. You can't even do it in your house now. It'll be like this, won't it? You ready what it'll be? It'll be, hey Dave. It'll be like, what? You coming around for a dinner party or you coming around to chill out at the house? He goes, are you mental? They'll have me in jail. So they'll go, oh, it's alright, man. It's in the bathroom with all the taps running. You think I'm joking, don't you, Scotland? By the way, if you don't know what antipathy means, it means a voluntary or involuntary dislike of something. Yep, you heard that right. Voluntary or involuntary dislike of something or somebody. So if you don't like someone, it's a crime. But anyway, I'd like to know your opinion on this, everyone. Let me know. If you're Scottish, what are you going to do about it? Something needs to be done. You can't allow this to go through. It will destroy Scotland forever. Forget leaving England and the Union. That would be nothing compared to what had happened with this. They'd be attacking you left, right and centre, and you know it. Before I sign off, though, everyone, check out this meme. Thought it might cheer you up a bit. It's good, isn't it? If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit the like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell icon, share it out, everyone. Share this one out because Scotland needs to know. Everyone needs to know exactly what this SNP are gonna do to Scotland because this is absolutely disgusting. Stay sane, and I'll see you on the next one.